Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Rotoworld Fantasy Basketball Q&A. I'm Raphielle Johnson, joined as always by Noah Rubin. Big trade dealings in the NFL. Kind of feels like the NBA trade deadline for once. Any thoughts?
Any thoughts, Raph? So many thoughts.
As a Jets fan, yeah.
Yeah, goodness, I was telling you before we started, like, that was not the trade I was expecting to happen. I was expecting quite a few trades, potentially, Breece Hall or like one of the edge rushers or something like that to happen. And like, I have to deal with that. Like, okay, like, I kind of prepared myself for that. And then like picking up my phone and saying, Sauce Gardner's on the freaking Colts. I was like, did not expect that. But 2 firsts is cool. I don't know, man. It's cyclical rebuild. Maybe I'm like, you know what? Just take a chance, man. We'll just maybe this time the first round picks will lead to a good football team. We'll see.
It's one of those let me go back to bed moments. See if it's real. But
yeah, basically.
All right, let's not delay any further. Get into some of these questions. Pop a cold one. He's been streaming Colin Murray Boyles with Pirtle on his IL. Would you drop CMB to activate him if and when he's back? Also have Moussa Diabate and Gillespie as potential drops, or Derek Jones Jr. back-to-back stream to start the week.
Let's see. I think top of my head, I'm not really wanting to drop Colin Murray Boyles at this point. I think maybe Derek Jones Jr. would be the one I would prioritize as a drop, just because like maybe he does have the favorable schedule, but just not super interested in him in category leagues. He is starting, yes, and he's been pretty efficient this year. I think that's kind of what's inflating his category league value. Assuming this is a category league. Oh, it does say that it is a category league. Yeah. So cool. So I think Derek Jones Jr. would probably be the one I'd be looking to drop. But it would also just kind of depend on who's available. Like, is it worth it?
Yeah, I think he wants to activate Pirtle. So I would keep CMB, and I'd actually drop Moussa Diabate. They only have one more game this week, and that is at Miami on Friday. Let's see what they have for week 4. They've got 4 games. They've got 4 games week 4, but the way that Ryan Kalkbrenner has played, we talked about him a lot last week, on the last show, I should say. I don't know if Diabate is going to give you much value to hold on to him, especially if you're looking to activate Pirtle. And I think Colin Murray Boyles is going to play a key role for that team moving forward, even after Pirtle gets activated. So I would drop Diabate of these guys. Gillespie is also considered. We'll see what happens with Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks when they get back and how soon they can get back to playing a full starter's minutes. So I think Diabate would be the one that I would drop out of these options here.
Yeah, now I'm reading that Pirtle was on his IL.
Yeah.
Will be back. Missed that part. Don't know how I read right over that, but cool. I'm back.
Oh, good. Okay, are we buying Isaiah Jackson's recent production? It's on the waiver wire. 3 games left in the week, 1 back-to-back. Hoping to get Diabate's game tonight and swap at midnight, but could act now or abandon the plan.
I think that's a fair plan to try that. As far as if I'm buying in on it, I think he's worth taking a chance on, but it wasn't very great before the last few games. And admittedly, the last few games were much better, especially this last one. I don't know if that's something that he can sustain, though. So, sure, he's worth taking a chance on, but I wouldn't be like, oh, okay, this is the player that we were expecting him to be. Got to hold him for the rest of the season through the highs and the lows. Like, he's a streamer.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The Diabate plan kind of complicates the previous question, too. But I guess you can wait on, because Pirtle's obviously not ready to go just yet. So you can probably wait a little bit for that. So, yeah, I think if you can pull off the swap, I would definitely do that. Indiana centers haven't been much to write home about, but Jackson's been the best performer, and as a first-round pick, he's obviously the one they're going to want to see come good on his potential. So I can definitely see the value in rostering him since he's playing well recently. And his last question, would you try to move Kawhi Leonard after the hot start? I feel like if he plays tonight or not will impact my feelings. We do have one IL plus slot in the league. 12-team 9-cat head-to-head, which helps manage back-to-back drama.
I think he said that he's playing back-to-backs.
Here's the funny thing is he said that after Friday's game. Then after last night's game, Ty Lue said, I'm not sure yet. So I think we both followed NBA long enough to know Ty can play some mind games at times. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens there. But I hope he plays tonight. But man, last night just threw everything for a loop in terms of what they may do. Like, Bradley Beal's not going to play. He hasn't been ruled out for sure just yet, but he's not going to play if he's only playing 20 minutes as it is. So, yeah, I definitely understand why you'd want to consider moving Kawhi, kind of strike while the iron's hot, but I kind of feel like it may be a little too early to do something like this. If he plays tonight, I would definitely hold on to him. But I don't know, man. That's a tough one for sure.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It could just be Ty Lue just trying to maintain some sort of competitive advantage, and Kawhi being a little bit too forthcoming and honest when they asked him about it previously, because maybe they do want to kind of have him be questionable on the second night of back-to-backs and maybe he'll play, maybe he won't, just like a competitive advantage type of thing. Yeah. I think he will. I don't think that he would come out and say that, everyone feels good with him playing back-to-backs if they didn't. Mm-hmm. So I think it's something I'm keeping an eye on, but I think he will. I wouldn't be looking to move him.
Yeah. All right. Evelyn asks, 9-cat head-to-head, are we holding P.J. Washington or dropping for either Zach Edey or Isaiah Jackson?
I would not be looking to hold P.J. Washington. I'd be fine with either. I'd prioritize Zach Edey. I know we're still waiting on him to be back, but it seems like based off the recent injury reporting that it's not far off. And I like his upside way more than I like Isaiah Jackson's upside for this season, especially considering that Indiana does kind of feel like a team that could have some shutdown risk playing out there. And I don't know if that impacts Isaiah Jackson or not. PJ Washington, really, really, really good last night. Don't think that that's going to be a typical night for him. So honestly, I'd be fine with either guy. I think I just prefer Edey.
Yeah, I think Jackson would be safe from a tank. He hasn't played much basketball, you think about it. And they need to see what they have there. So I think he's one of those guys that they'll try to play as much as possible throughout the season, even if the playoffs aren't a realistic possibility for them. So I think, man, I'd probably drop Washington for Edey if I had to make a choice between those two. Okay. Jiggy would like for us to rank Scoot Henderson, T.J. McConnell, Kevin Porter Jr., and Josh Hart.
The rest of the season element does make this a little bit tricky considering three of them are injured. I think I would take Josh Hart first just because of the clarity in his situation. Not saying that, it's clear that he's playing as much as he did last year. I think that is clear, but there is clarity. Then probably Scoot with how Ryan Rollins has played. Then Kevin Porter Jr., though I don't think I'd have any qualms about it being flipped. And T.J. McConnell last. I just think this is going to turn into a lost season for Indiana, and they're going to be able to get a really nice lottery pick, and which is going to be really nice for having to deal with an entire season of no Tyrese Halliburton. But I don't know. I could definitely see T.J. McConnell not playing a ton even after he gets healthy and missing time down the stretch, stuff like that.
Yeah, I would go Hart first as well, just because what he can give you across multiple categories. He's not going to be the scorer that Porter or Scoot can potentially be, but rebounding, assists, defensive stats, he can get you a little bit of everything. The hand issue is a bit concerning just because he's also dealing with nerve damage now. So that's a bit of a wild card that wasn't reported before the season started, but still, I would take Josh Hart. One, I don't really have much of an argument with your order, to be honest with you. I'd go Scoot too, because I think even with Drew Holiday playing well, they're going to want to see if they have in Scoot once he's healthy. See if he's a potential cornerstone for them, or if they need to look for a point guard in a draft or free agency next summer. So I would go him 2, Porter 3, and then McConnell 4.
Raph, just don't mean to make this an NFL episode, but the Jets also just traded Quentin Williams to the Cowboys for a first. So I didn't have a Sauce Gardner jersey. I had a hoodie, but I didn't have a jersey. I have a Quentin Williams jersey right over there. I might have to grab it and just
yeah.
No, I'm not going to do that, but
this man. I think you can safely assume that Aaron Glenn will have his job next season because you can't expect him to do it. All right, Papa Cold One is back. Is Isaiah Collier worth a speculative add? 12-team 9-cat head-to-head. Classic Hardy shenanigans with the availability last night.
I don't think he's worth an add, but I don't think he's a drop. I'm still holding on to him in the league that I have him in, just because he kind of alluded to that before the game. He's going to be available. We'll see if he plays, and he didn't play, so it wasn't that surprising. But Keontae George has been awesome, and Walter Clayton Jr. has been good too. Both are more dynamic scorers and shooters than Collier. I don't think this means that Collier's out of the rotation entirely for the rest of the season, but I don't think he's worth an add, especially in a 12-team league. But if you're holding on to him and you have been holding on to him, I would give it another game or two before dropping.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The biggest variable in here is that Keontae George is playing like a competent point guard. If he were playing like he did last season and then in the summer league, then sure, you definitely want to add Collier, but he's playing good basketball right now. So I don't know if I'd rush out to add him. It's all about who you're going to be dropping to pick him up, obviously. But yeah, that's the thing. Keontae George is playing so well that I don't know what the minute split's going to be. You throw in Walter Clayton as well. They're all first-round picks, obviously, but I don't know if Collier's going to get the run that you need to justify adding him immediately, unless you have someone on your roster who's just dead weight and that you need to get rid of. All right, JJ Styles, your thoughts on who to drop for Jeremiah Fears are the following: Trey Johnson, Jeremiah Walker.
I'm assuming Jarris.
Jarris Walker and Isaiah Collier, 12-team 9-cat, looking for the long-term outlook.
I think, I just said in literally the last question that Collier isn't a drop. But I think in this, and it always is case by case. You're not just dropping Isaiah Collier just to pick someone else up. But I would prefer the other 3 players over Collier in this scenario.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Wallace is playing big minutes almost out of necessity at this point. Trey Johnson, good role right now. I think it's only going to expand as the season wears on. And then Isaiah Collier, we still don't know what his place in that rotation is going to be. So if you're going to drop anyone, it would be him for me as well. All right. Thoughts on Jalen Suggs moving forward? Do you believe he's just recovering from injury and will get better, or this is what we're going to get?
Yes, I just don't know. And I don't think they're going to give much of a timeline of when he's going to be back playing regular minutes. I assume it gets better. I hope that it's sometime this month or next month, and that this isn't he's just playing 20 minutes per game with no back-to-backs until the playoffs. I don't see that happening. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But unless they come out and say that any sort of minutes restriction is changing, it's hard to kind of say.
Yeah, he's never really a great category league guy to begin with. I think he was solid last year before the injury, but he didn't. I think it's a combination of both. I think he can be better than what he's been, but they're still kind of bringing him along slowly. So a little bit of A, a little bit of B, I guess I would say my answer is on this one. Is Khalil Ware cooked, or is it a Spo thing? I don't think he's cooked.
So I was just looking at who ended up getting that start over him yesterday.
Yesterday it was they kept Pelle Larsson in the starting five with
Yeah.
Norman Powell back.
So I guess the answer between Ware and Jovic preseason was neither of them. That's cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I still think Ware is a really talented player, and he may have some success. Goodness gracious, later on this season, and beyond this season, but it is kind of hard to project him out to have success in the short term based on what we've seen so far this season and the role change, him starting but not playing a ton of minutes. So I don't know. He wasn't a player that I was really drafting that much because I was of the belief that Jovic was going to start.
Yeah.
And so I have way more Jovic than I have of Ware, which has also been, a whole different thing. But I don't know if, would you say he's a drop? I don't know if I'd be ready to drop him right now. Especially, I mean, he did play well in that game too.
Yeah, I'm not dropping him. I think the night before against the Lakers, his energy was just really poor and he ended up getting pulled to start the second half. So there's still some inconsistencies there. That was the same thing in college, where you look at his time at Indiana. He had the one really good year at Oregon, but before that, just really up and down in terms of production and effort levels. He's still young. I don't think he's cooked at all. It's just that Spo's going to hold you to a pretty high standard, as opposed to some other places that may let a lottery pick just kind of play through things. He's not going to play you if you're not bringing it. So I don't think he's cooked at all. He put up good numbers in 18 minutes last night. You just have to hope that this kind of serves as a catalyst for him and he can be more consistent moving forward. All right. Kyle would like to know the better short-term play, Sion James or Jalen Tyson, 12-team 9-cat head-to-head.
Let me just look at matchups real quick. So Sion started the last game. LaMelo is out tonight against the Pelicans, which is a pretty good matchup.
Yeah.
And then for Tyson Darius Garland's going to be back. So I think that
there's your answer right there.
Yeah, I forgot. Was that Shams trade that he'll make his debut as soon as Wednesday night against the 76ers. So it's not official, but it's close to official.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess maybe you wait on that update to be confident. If Garland's playing, then yes, Sion, because I assume that's Tyson bumped back to the bench. If Garland's out another game, then I'd probably prefer Tyson. I think that he has more upside and is a more productive fantasy player. But if he's not getting as many minutes, then it's hard to have him be the better short-term play.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Because even if you have Garland back, but Sam Merrill stays out, that's still not going to help Tyson very much from a minute standpoint. So I would definitely go with Sion James in terms of the better short-term play. All right, Jason would like for us to rank these Pacers options: Isaiah Jackson, Aaron Nesmith, Jarris Walker, 12-team 9-cat.
I think I'd go Nesmith, Jarris Walker, Isaiah Jackson, and I know everyone's back in on Isaiah Jackson after the last few games, but Nesmith's role is by far the safest. He's going to keep playing a ton of minutes. He started off slow, but he's been better. Jarris Walker, I think, is pretty much locked in as a starter. And I would say Isaiah Jackson is at this point as well.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me to be very, very confident that Isaiah Jackson is just who he was last night for the rest of the season.
Man. I think I'm going to go Jarris Walker here with my first option. And, we're still waiting for Ben Mathurin. Once he gets back, things may change. But I think Walker, in terms of, he's been a little bit more efficient offensively recently. That's the reason why I would go with him. Nesmith second, and Jackson third. I need to see more from Jackson before I fully buy into what we've seen these last few games. All right, Yannick De Silva, should I trade TJ McConnell and Scottie Pippen Jr.? Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah, I don't know what you get for Pippen. He's out until January at a minimum. So
yeah, if you're able to get any sort of value for them, then sure.
Yeah.
Go for it. I mean, if I'm in your league with you, I'm not trading you.
Yeah,
anything
I wouldn't
for
do
DJ
it, but hey,
McConnell.
if you can get somebody to do it, then by all means, please do.
Yeah, please.
All right. Now that we got a Keontae George question, what are our thoughts on him for the rest of the season? I hope the Jazz' desire to tank doesn't slow him down.
He's been off to a great start. It doesn't seem like they are actively trying to tank, and obviously that typically doesn't happen in October and November. It's the more intentional take in March, April, and sometimes as early as February. But they've been pretty competitive.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is just like who he is. I think it's just a hot start and he'll cool off, but he feels like a pretty strong play for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I don't think he's someone who's good enough to be pulled to encourage a tank. Like, I think it's not like a Lauri Markkanen situation where it's like, all right, this guy can legitimately put our team on his back and win a couple games that we may not want to win. As good as Keontae's been, I don't know if he can be that type of guy throughout an entire season. And plus, they still need to figure out, is he the guy? Is it Collier? Could it be Walter Clayton Jr.? Who's going to run the point for us when we're actually ready and able to win games and be a playoff team? So I think those questions are kind of what's going to keep Keontae on the floor for the rest of the season. All right. Another Jazz question. Thoughts on Walker Kessler's shoulder injury? Do you believe it is more serious than it was announced? And do you believe Nurk is solid ad with potential long-term value? Let's say, first of all, I don't really want to get into the injury speculation. Just going off of what the team announces, he won't play during this road trip that they're still on. The concern for me is that he is also dealing with left shoulder bursitis during the preseason. So that's where you start to get a bit concerned in terms of how long he may be out. I think Nurkic would be a good ad for now. I don't know about the rest of the season, but
yeah, I agree with that. It's like you said, it's not fair to speculate, but the fact that they're running tests could be short term, could be long term. It actually doesn't tell us anything until we get the results. But I do think that Nurkic is maybe not a high upside ad, but he's pretty solid. Like he had a double-double in their last game. The game before that was meh. So he's not the most exciting player, but could be a decent option. I don't know if I'm like rushing to the waiver wire to add him, but if he's there and you can use some rebounds, then yeah, there's some value.
Yeah, you can play him 30 plus. Why not add him for now? Let's see. Whoops, wrong question. Okay. Sid needs to cut one of these players to activate Darius Garland, Trey Johnson, Con Knipple, or AJ Mitchell. Who should it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Gosh, I don't want to cut any of those guys. I want them on my team.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else. Nice roster you got here. I don't know. Do you feel strongly about it? Because like AJ Mitchell's been really, really good to start the year, but there is kind of that unknown factor of what is his role going to look like when this team is healthy.
Yeah.
Con Knipple seems like pretty safely starting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to go ahead and say no Con Knipple just because he's starting.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Trey Johnson, but I don't feel good about that because there is still a ton of upside there, and he's probably going to get better as the season continues.
Yeah, I think for now I would drop Trey Johnson, but I think if we revisit this in like a month, it's probably going to be AJ Mitchell who's the one who gets dropped. Just because, like you mentioned, what's the rotation going to look like in Oklahoma City? He'll certainly continue to play. He just won't play as much. And that's going to be the concern for him. Trey Johnson's got a bit more long-term upside, I think, just because, once Washington gets that trade deadline, do they move Chris Middleton or CJ McCollum? Or do they just put those guys on the bench if they can't move them? So I think Con Knipple is definitely the one that I would hold on to. He's starting. He's playing well. And, his role, I don't think it's going to change much whenever Brandon Miller gets back. So he's the one I would definitely not drop out of those three. Okay, thoughts on Ace Bailey, Taylor Hendricks, and Kyle Filipowski rest of the season 12 team 9-cat head-to-head value.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a messy little rotation there in Utah. Hendricks started the last 2 games, but hasn't really done too much and also hasn't played starter level minutes. I guess he did in the first one. And actually, the first one was pretty good. Still no defensive stats, which was a bit surprising. Second start, not great last night. Kyle Filipowski was better off the bench in the second game after kind of not doing too much in the first game off the bench. Ace Bailey still not playing a ton. I don't know. I mean, I think that they're all really talented and have the ability to be really good in fantasy basketball. I also think that in the short term, it's not a great situation for any of them to thrive just because there's too many mouths to feed. And Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen have been awesome. I would be incredibly surprised if Markkanen is not traded at the trade deadline. So that opens up a ton of minutes for all three. So I think kind of low value right now, but we may not see their value creep up until February, which is not ideal.
Yeah. I think Bailey's got the highest upside just because of what he can do offensively, but none of them really enthuse me as rest of the season options unless a trade happens. They move Markkanen. That'll definitely clear some things up for the wings. Maybe they move Nurkic. I don't know if there's much of a market for him come February, but that would kind of help with Filipowski a bit if he were to be moved. So, yeah, I'm not too big on any of these guys in terms of rest of the season, but that can all change at the trade deadline. All right. Yeah, we don't know yet.
I can confidently say the second one, no.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to start. Yeah.
But will he play? I mean,
he'll definitely play. If he's available, I think he'll get in, but I don't know. That's what we thought last night, too.
Yeah.
They decided there was no need to play him, so I don't know, man. Right. Dropping Josh Minot for Nurkic, McCain, or CJ McCollum?
Ooh. I'm not going to drop Jared McCain just because he's coming back now and like you've been waiting for him.
Oh, no. He wants to know if we're going to pick up any of those guys for Minot.
Okay. Yep, that would make more sense. Then, is CJ McCollum? I don't have CJ McCollum in any leagues, but has he I haven't seen a single positive thing said about him all season. Has he really been? I guess it has been. Well, maybe not that bad. Do you think CJ McCollum is like a player that shouldn't be rostered? Like, I feel like he should be rostered. So
I think he should be. He hasn't been great thus far. He's only shooting about 36% from the field. So it hasn't looked great thus far, but I will say that I know it feels like he should be rostered. He just hasn't played to that level thus far. I think part of this depends on what you need. Like if you need rebounding, then definitely go with Nurkic. But I would probably roll the dice on McCain, even though his minutes may be limited to start. I just like the long-term upside that he brings to the table. When you have a change of pace guy to go along with Maxey and Edgecombe, he's definitely going to play. Then you got Quentin Grimes as well. So those four are going to get like all the minutes on the perimeter once they're fully healthy. I like McCain out of these three options that you have here. Okay. We have not covered Jake LaRavia yet, but we're happy to do so now. Holding in with 10-team 9-cat head-to-head, or better to just stream a spot?
And 10-team, that definitely makes it a little bit tougher because fewer players rostered. But I do think that LaRavia has been really good this season, especially the last 4 games or so. I think it's probably makes more sense to just stream the spot in a shallower league.
Yeah.
He's been, like I said, really good recently. Not sure he's gonna be able to maintain that consistently, especially with Austin Reeves and Luka when they're available. Because he started in their last game, but he was good off the bench before that. LeBron's going to be back at some point, not sure entirely. So I think I'd be fine streaming the spot if there is a better player that has like a better schedule this week or a specific game you need that for.
Yeah, they only have 2 more games this week, and then Luka and Austin should be back on Wednesday when they play the Spurs. So I think Laravia is definitely going to be in the rotation, but I think in a 10-team league, you can probably afford to just stream that spot. Okay. Is Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green coming back kill Gillespie's appeal rest of the season, or is Phoenix bad enough that he has a solid role when the team is healthy?
Yeah, I do think that does really limit his fantasy impact. Both of those players are going to be on the ball pretty heavily. And even if the Suns aren't great this year, like maybe he has other stretches this season where he is really productive, but I don't believe in the whole like body of work rest of season production for Colin Gillespie.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, looking to buy low on Harper, Flag, Ace Bailey, and the Keepers League. Any favorite of the 3?
If I'm looking to buy low, I think that the only one that would truly be okay. My favorite of the 3 is Cooper Flag. My second favorite is Dylan Harper. And then my third favorite would be Ace Bailey. I think the only true buy low here in terms of how I'd value them would be Ace Bailey because I'm not concerned in the slightest about Flag. Harper is hurt, but he's been really good. And then Ace Bailey hasn't been great and hasn't played a ton. Yeah. So that would be the buy low. But if you're able to make a trade for Cooper Flag or Dylan Harper, I would trade for any of these players if I'm able to buy low on any of them.
Yeah. I feel like realistically, Ace is the only one you'll be able to actually buy low on. Even with Harper injured, you're going to have to pay a pretty penny to get either him or Cooper Flag, I think. So I don't know if I'd necessarily be looking to buy low on Ace Bailey. I just think he's the only one that you'd be able to pull it off for at this point. All right. Where would you rank Darius Garland, and is he worth trading Jalen Duren for?
I think that Darius Garland is a top 50 player in fantasy basketball when he's healthy. The reason that he went later in drafts was because there wasn't too much clarity on when he'd play, and starting off injured isn't a great way to start off a season. I think it probably depends on categories here.
Yeah.
Because obviously they do pretty different things, and Duren has been pretty good this year. So I think if maybe you need some help with what Darius Garland can provide, like points, threes, assists, or if you're pretty good on rebounds, then I think that would be a fine trade. And I think in terms of overall value, I would value Darius Garland higher than Jalen Duren. But again, if you need specific categories, it's probably what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, it's all about need at this point. So I agree with what Noah said there. Also, is Cam Johnson a drop, or will he be better in top 100? Taking 9 cats.
I know I've been saying Cam Johnson is not a drop. Maybe. Do you think Cam Johnson's a drop? Because I don't want to drop the name Cam Johnson, but it's been very rough so far, and I don't think it's that he's shooting the ball terribly. It's he's not shooting great, but he also hasn't gotten many shots. So I'm gonna kind of stick with my stance of eventually they'll figure out how to use him a little bit better. But it definitely, I think it's worth considering a drop.
I would consider a trade before I consider dropping him. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine in time. Just has to get used to the system, and also figuring out where his shots are going to come from within that offense. So I think he definitely can still be a top 100 player this season. I'm not dropping him right now, personally. All right, got an Atlanta Hawks question. Can Keaton Wallace hold deep league value or Trey out? 2014 points lead.
I think yes. I really like Keaton Wallace as a player. He wasn't great to start the season, but been a pretty nice source of assists the last 2 games, and he got some offense going in his last one. I know he missed their last game, but before that, I think he can. And in a 2014 league, like getting players that are playing pretty consistent minutes and contributing in a category, especially something scarce like assists, I think he's worth. Actually, it's points league, so it doesn't matter the specifics. But I think he's worth. Yeah, I think he can hold a level of value.
Yeah, in the 2014 league, definitely. So, yeah, I would definitely hold on to him for now. All right. Is Bub Carrington still a hold in 12-team Dynasty? 9-cat head-to-head.
Yes. And again, I think this came up last week, but like it depends on how many players you're rostering. But Bub Carrington to me is still roughly a top 150 Dynasty player, maybe top 175 if I'm being a little bit more conservative about it. But unless you're rostering like 150 players or 125 players in your Dynasty league, which expands your rosters if you are, yes, he's still a hold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If this were redraft, there would be more of a conversation. But Dynasty, I definitely think you should hold on to him. So, let's see. Would you drop Trey Jones, Aaron Nesmith, or DeAndre Hunter for Jarris Walker?
Has there been any sort of Kobe White update that I've missed? I don't remember seeing much.
I believe he could be back pretty soon, but I'm not really. Let's see here.
Because I wouldn't drop Aaron Nesmith. And I think if Kobe White's going to be back, then I would prefer to drop Trey Jones. But if he's going to remain out, then I think it's a little bit more of a conversation, but it still might be Trey Jones because DeAndre Hunter has been really good. Mm-hmm. But with Darius Garland back, how does that impact DeAndre Hunter?
Let's see. So I found a report from Bulls insider Casey Johnson, and he said on Tuesday that Kobe still hasn't scrimmaged since 2 weeks ago when they dropped the update that he was going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So no scrimmaging obviously means no 5-on-5. So this may be something that keeps him out a bit longer than many anticipated. So maybe you hold on to Trey Jones for now for that reason. I think DeAndre Hunter would probably be my drop out of these 3. Just because I don't know, category leagues, I don't think he's never really been a great player in terms of category leagues. So, and plus with Garland hopefully being back this week, Hunter may remain a starter, or if you get Sam Merrill back healthy, then he would be the starter just to give them shooting at that spot. So I think he would be the one I would drop for Jarris Walker out of these 3.
Yeah, DeAndre Hunter is a good defender that doesn't get a ton of defensive stats.
Yeah.
He's scoring a lot, but is he going to be able to maintain that level of scoring when Garland's back? He's averaging a career high 3 assists per game. I don't know if you saw that that Donovan Mitchell clip where they said that I think he tied his DeAndre Hunter tied his career high for assists or set his career high for assists, and it was 6. And Donovan Mitchell was like, "Trey, so you like it was."
Yeah.
So, needless to say, he's not going to get you too many assists or other stats. So,
okay, shallow category league question: is Davion Mitchell a drop once Hero is back?
It depends on what they do with the lineup, and it's it's going to change up because it's Spo. But in their last game, I would assume that they'd be fine just sliding Tyler Hero in for Larson and starting him next to Norm Powell and Davion Mitchell. And Mitchell is probably not going to get you too many points, but plenty of assist steals still. So I don't think he's a drop, but maybe give it a few games to see what the rotation looks like.
Yeah, no, he's not an immediate drop. See how things play out, because I think for defensive purposes, he may have a good chance of sticking in the starting lineup. Then also you take a little bit of the playmaking off of the plates of Hero and Norman Powell. Maybe that frees him up a bit more offensively. So I would not drop Davion Mitchell immediately upon Tyler Hero's return. All right. Is Yves Missi worth a hold in the 175 roster league? Fears or Missi for the rest of the season?
I mean, I prefer Fears for the rest of the season, but I don't think that. Again, it just kind of depends on who would be available to pick up. I don't think Missi's a must hold in a league that's rostering 175 players, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that front court situation besides Zion is really bad in New Orleans right now. So, yeah, he would not be a hold for me. Like, they had to sign DeAndre Jordan. Like, I mean, I know there are injuries at play as well, but it kind of tells me all I need to know about the potential of some of those guys. So, he's not a hold for me. Would Miles Bridges for Ace Bailey be a fair offer? I'm assuming that's Dynasty, I assume.
It was the follow-up, and his last question was just a shallow category league question.
That was a hero. I'm looking at the Bub 12-team Dynasty one a little bit higher than that.
Yeah. So Dynasty answer would be I'd much prefer to have Ace Bailey over Miles Bridges. Redraft, I'd much prefer to have Miles Bridges over Ace Bailey.
Yeah. Man, a lot of Ace Bailey questions. What should I do with Ace Bailey, 14-team roto?
I don't think he's a must roster. Yeah. In a roto league, I guess it would be a little bit different. So maybe he's not necessarily a drop in a 14-team roto, but I wouldn't be starting him in your roto league for the time being.
Yeah. This is another one of those dynasty versus redraft questions. Like, roto redraft, I'd drop him. Dynasty, keep him. You know, that's not too much analysis there, I don't think. Well, Isaiah Jackson, keep it up.
Maybe. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not a believer that he's definitely going to continue to be really good. Like, I wouldn't be banking on that, but I know there are other people that are pretty confident in him. I'm just not ready to say that. And what does keeping it up look like? Does it mean for a couple of weeks, or does it mean for the rest of the season? I would say rest of the season, no, but this could be a nice little run for him.
The door is definitely open for him to take advantage, but can he do it? That's going to be the question. So the short answer to your question, James, is that we don't know. Hopefully he can, but yeah. All right. Will Ryan Dunn still be a starter even when Green and Brooks are back? Yes. They're not breaking up Brooks and Dunn.
It's because it's Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen that are starting in place of Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. So
yeah, he'll still be a starter. Okay, let's see. Once team is fully healthy, who do you think has better long-term value? Grayson Allen. Once each team, I should say, Grayson Allen or Trey Jones?
Grayson Allen, to me. I think he's still going to play a role off the bench and hit some threes. Not going to be great, but Trey Jones' value is pretty much dependent on him starting. Like, once Kobe White and Josh Giddey are there to handle the ball, there isn't a massive need for Trey Jones to play big minutes.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. James wants to know what we think of Brandon Podziemski for the rest of the season in a 14-team roto league.
I'm still confident that Pods is going to be really good for the rest of the season. Maybe not super consistently or anything like that, but I think he's worth holding for the rest of the season. He was a player that I was pretty high on entering the year. I'm not wavering based on what we've seen so far.
Yeah. He's top 100 right now, and I see no reason why he can't maintain that. So I think he's in for another good year. Okay, and it looks like Yannick just received a trade offer. So he's taking on Jimmy Butler in exchange for Cooper Flagg. Would you make this trade?
Jimmy Butler's questionable for tonight with back soreness, and I think the main holdup here would be Jimmy Butler's health because in the past he's been incredible per game value, but how healthy can he be? In the back, it's a right low back soreness. That's, I don't know, it's not alarming, but it's not ideal. But I think I'd rather have Jimmy Butler rest of season. I mean, Cooper Flag's going to work through things this year, and it doesn't feel like he's going to be as good as maybe we were expecting him to be, but he's going to get better as the season progresses. But can you afford to wait on that? I think that would kind of be the question based on what your team, and it's probably too early to decide. Like if you're 2-0, that doesn't mean too much. If you're 0-2, maybe you're a little bit more pressed for production right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I would hold on to Cooper Flag. I think Jimmy's not a lock to play 65 games, and that can be problematic, especially if he misses time during like the fantasy playoff weeks. So I think I would keep Cooper Flag in that scenario. All right. As Colin Murray Boyles lose most of his values if/when Pirtle returns, what is his dynastic outlook if he remains a roster for the? I don't. That one's a bit confusing there, but
he probably does lose out on some value because he doesn't start. But I still think he's an important part of this rotation. So probably does lose at least some value. And then for Dynasty, I'm still super in on Colin Murray Boyles. I know I had him top 100. I can't remember. He may have been outside the top 75 for me. And the fact he's shooting threes only helps that. So really excited about Colin Murray Boyles long term.
Yeah. I think he's going to be a really good dynasty piece to have on your roster for years to come. How will Kobe White's return impact Jones and Buzelis?
Trey Jones moves to the bench, probably loses the majority of his value. Maybe life gets a little bit easier for Montes Buzelis, but he loses out on some usage. So more of an impact for Trey Jones and probably just changes up the type of production that Buzelis has.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Buzelis gets easier shots instead of having to create as much. So, yeah. All right. Are we still holding Bobby Portis? Any chance he can replicate last year's production later on?
Are we holding Bobby Portis? I don't think so. I think he's a hard player to drop, but he just hasn't really gotten minutes consistently. He hasn't been super productive. He's basically the player you stream in when Giannis misses a game. But even then, when Giannis missed a game, he played 19 minutes. So maybe he's just a drop.
Yeah, I think he's a drop at this point. You know, Kyle Kuzma, he's in there to play minutes when Giannis is out. And then you have Miles Turner, who's able to stay, I guess, relatively healthy. He's going to play a bit more than Brook Lopez was playing, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I think I would rather free up that spot instead of holding on to Bobby Portis. I think his ceiling is limited in terms of fantasy this year. Okay. Would you drop Collier or LaRavia for Ajax? 10-team, 9-cat head-to-head.
I think in this scenario, I'd prefer to drop Collier than Jake LaRavia. And I think the fact that, Collier's coming off not playing, Isaiah Jackson's coming off his best game of the season, probably makes sense to pick up Isaiah Jackson, drop Isaiah Collier.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Cedric Howard has looked solid with his minutes creeping up. Agreed. Interesting situation.
I think there's a follow-up for this.
And then, yep, that's right. Will he be affected once Ty Jerome or Scottie Pippen Jr. returns?
I don't think. Yeah, it's Cam Spencer and Javon Small that have been the backup point guards when outside of Ja Morant. So maybe he loses out on a couple minutes just because some of those guys are going to have to play alongside of each other. But I think he's been way too good, and they just spent a first-round pick on him. He's too important to their future for them to just bump him out, especially with things kind of feeling uncertain a little bit in Memphis.
If anything, maybe his shot opportunities look a bit better, especially once you get Ty Jerome back. Cam Spencer, Javon Small have given what they have, but I think Chai Jerome is clearly a cut above those guys as a point guard. So you get him on the floor, for more minutes alongside Coward. I think he'll be a good fit next to the rookie. And I don't think, if anything, I think Cedric's ceiling may rise a bit once they get some more point guards in that roster. Right. I think we've already talked about these guys earlier in the show, but Jared McCain or Jalen Suggs?
It's hard to give a definitive answer without getting a game out of McCain because it's been almost a calendar year since we've seen him play. I'm assuming he's going to come off the bench.
Rest of season value with that.
Rest of the season, I think I'd probably say Suggs because he's starting and there's that chance that he moves into playing a larger role, whereas McCain, I don't really see him starting, playing a nice role off the bench, but Quentin Grimes has been so good. VJ Edgecombe has been so good. So I think both will be good. I think Suggs just has more upside and he can definitely get you a decent, or at least a good amount of steals.
Yeah. I think that's the deciding factor right there, the defensive stats. I think Suggs is going to be better equipped to get you production there as long as he stays relatively healthy. Okay, what do you do with Austin Reeves and 12-team NICAT head-to-head besides say thank you for the hot start?
Hope that he stays hot. I don't know. Raph said he would trade Trae Young to get him. So maybe if you're in a league with Raph, having Trae Young. You said that like a week or two ago during one of these.
I would give up Trae to get Austin Reeves.
So maybe if you're able to sell high, but other than that, I think I just ride the hot hand.
I don't even think I'd sell high at this point. Like I would hold on to him as well as he's played. Even in the game that Luka came back for on Sunday, Reeves still gave you a really good stat line. I know LeBron is LeBron, but he's also going to be 41 in December. So I think that's another reason why I would hold on to Austin Reeves. Yeah, I'm in this until the wheels fall off, personally.
And that would be a good plan, I think.
Yeah. All right. Will Alex Sarr keep improving as they continue to develop their young core in Washington?
Yeah, dude, he's been so good. I was doing a little bit of research into his improvement, and he's last season it was like 25% of his shot attempts came in the restricted area, and this season it's closer to, or I think it's closer to 50%. I don't think it was over, but he's emphasizing getting shots at the rim. He's hitting threes better, but he's not like taking them at an absurd rate. He's rebounding well. He's still blocking shots. Like, yeah, this is like, I was not expecting Alex Sarr to take the leap in year 2. I thought it was going to take more time. I thought he was more raw as a player, but it's been a really good start to this year too.
Yeah. Like watching the game last night, there were some moments where he got overpowered by Karl Anthony Towns, but there's far more initiative to continue to compete and go in the paint and fight this year than there was last year. Felt like at times last year he'd be a little too willing to just hang out on the perimeter. Like I think he's close to half his 3-point attempts per game from his rookie season to this year. He's averaging under 3 attempts per game this year. Like you mentioned with his numbers in the restricted area, far more assertive on that end of the floor. I think he's going to keep improving. And let me see how old he is. I think he's only like 21, if I'm not mistaken. He's still 20.
Yeah.
He'll turn 21 pretty much in late April. So he's still got a lot of room to develop physically and continue to learn the game. I think he's going to be a serious cornerstone for them. Keyshawn George really looks like that too for them. Okay. How low can we buy Derek White right now? Buy low with a top 50 player?
Yeah. It's been not great for Derek White so far, but not terrible. And mostly it's the shooting. He hasn't shot 40% in a game yet this season. But I think that was kind of Derek White was really good, or like he was good in San Antonio, got traded to Boston, and now he's playing a specific role that allowed him to play his best. And now he's in this high volume role, and it's not ideal for him. However, he's not going to shoot 31% from the rest of the season.
Exactly.
So I think it's worth. But top 50, if we're talking top 50 by like ADP, like Kawhi was Yahoo just like late 4th round. Like I wouldn't trade Kawhi Leonard for Derek White. So it's kind of tough. Like I definitely would be looking to buy low, but you might end up being able to go a decent amount lower to get Derek White.
Let's see. Trying to figure out who you could potentially move for him. If I were to offer you Trey Murphy for Derek White, what would your reaction be?
Kind of want nothing to do with the Pelicans.
Yeah.
I think that's because like I love Trey Murphy. I think he's a really good player and really good for fantasy. If he wasn't in New Orleans right now, I think I would rather have Trey Murphy, but I'd rather have Derek White than Trey Murphy.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Speaking of the Pelicans, if/when Jeremiah Fear struggles, will the Pelicans pull him back for more Poole?
I don't see why they would. They've already kind of let him play through his struggles. He is the guy they just drafted in the 1st round. I don't see a reason to bench him for Jordan Poole in a lost season.
Yeah, you might as well just let him play. I think we're past the point of job security concerns. So you're starting 0-7. You're either getting fired eventually or they don't care. Like that's basically what it is at this point. So
I guess that's kind of the thing though. Like, is Jordan Poole better enough right now than Jeremiah Fears that it impacts things that Willie Green could make that move? But I think, I don't know, there's got to be some level of confidence from management in his job. And like, if he's allowed to bench Jordan Poole and start this rookie, it has to be like you're going to be here to develop this rookie. That's why we're fine with you starting him, even though we don't have our 1st round pick this year.
Yeah.
But then the Derek Queen thing doesn't make sense. So I don't know. I think that there's probably a handful of players in New Orleans that are wondering the same thing.
Let's see. We'll stick with Fears here. Jeremiah Fears or Isaiah Jackson for the rest of the season?
I prefer Fears.
Yeah, agreed.
Could be category dependent. In a vacuum, I prefer Fears.
Okay. All right. Last question before we go. What role will Scoot Henderson have when he comes back?
I think it'll end up being pretty similar to what he was at last season, which was 26.7 minutes per game. He only started a handful of games, but Drew Holiday's been good. The team has been good. It's difficult to see him sliding into a starting role at this point, unless it ends up, this is not me spitballing here, but it could be Drew Holiday to an off-ball role, Shaden Sharp to the bench because he's been off to a slow start, but I'm not really banking on that happening.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like they want to compete this year. I think that much is clear. So I don't think they're just going to throw him in the starting lineup and have him play 32 minutes a night. So, yeah, I think his role will be similar to what it was last year. All right. And with that, our time is up. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. A fun hour. Noah, thanks as always for coming on, and we'll talk to everyone on Friday.